What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be taking a look over here at the Bitcoin price chart and over here at the altcoin market, as we have reached a pretty critical level of where we're at in regards to a retracement in the altcoin market. Right here on the screen, I actually have others, which is going to be the entire altcoin market, excluding the top 10. You can see it's back here at the 702 Fibonacci retracement level. When it comes to total 2, which is the entire altcoin market, we just don't include Bitcoin in this market cap. You can see it's actually a little bit less than that, although it has reached this resistance level over here from back in April of 2022, but not quite to that retracement level. However, if we look over here at CoinTrader Pro, which is actually pulling the market cap from Coin Market Cap, and it's actually pulling it from this figure right up here on the top left of the screen. This one actually has reached its 702 Fibonacci retracement level. Both TradingView and CoinTrader Pro pull their numbers from a different location. CoinTrader Pro pulls it from CoinMarketCap's website, whereas TradingView does their own calculation. Either way, we could see where we've gotten back to. All these market caps are right back at their retracement levels as Bitcoin still continues this fight, as it has been stuck up here since the earlier part of March. Now, the million-dollar question is whether or not this altcoin market can expand right now, or if it's going to find a bunch of resistance as we are back here at these retracement levels right now. As we know, through 2022 and through 2023, the viewpoint was looking at it through the lens of being Wyckoff accumulation, which we did end up having. We then ended up having our sign of strength phase happen in there. And then we went on into phase E after having our sign of strength all through December and January. And then now here we are. We've done phase E and we're back at the retracement levels now after doing a textbook Wyckoff accumulation structure in there. So this is going to be a level where people will take profit. Those who accumulated in 2022 and 2023 able to take a little bit off the books, lock in some of the gains here, and then let the market be able to decide from this spot. So as we are right here, this is the area I was very confident that we could get this altcoin market back to. Now it becomes an entirely different trade on whether we can actually expand through here or not. The big fight through 2022 and 2023 is that markets don't tend to go down in a straight line forever. They tend to, at a minimum, be able to retrace. Then once we get back to retracement levels, the market has to decide, where do we go from there? Can we get a breakout and continue the bullish trend, or was it nothing but a retracement? But we'll look throughout the market. We'll look at it through the lens of what it was like in past cycles for Bitcoin. But again, to just kind of remember, this is the area where resistance is. This is where problems can show up in the market at when we get back to these retracement levels. Just because we look at it through the lens of what the past market cycles have looked like does not mean we're going to repeat past market cycles. This is an area that has to get cleared through. This can be a major problem zone for it, and we're all on pins and needles right now on whether or not we can get through. Again, this is a place where people will take money off the table. People who are patient, who accumulated the lows, took it back to the retracements. Many coins able to lock in 200, 300, 400% gains in them. Now we're looking to see, can we go full-blown euphoria in this market and just blow this thing out of the water? So as we know, Bitcoin sits back up in here at the highs. We'll look at it through the lens of back in 2020. Now, for full transparency, I do find there to be some flaws to look at it through this lens. Because one, I actually think if Bitcoin is doing something like that right now, and if it is going to keep going any higher than this, the price behavior is actually acting much more as if we're already right there, rather than being back at the all-time high. And I'll show you that here in just a minute as to why when it comes to like the altcoin market or when it comes to Bitcoin's price action in general. But there's also the argument with a tighter Fed monetary policy that when we had a pause back in 2019, Bitcoin did the same thing, rallying up into the pause until the cuts began and then the price really tailed off. That's been what we've had in here. The Fed's been paused, Bitcoin price has moved up, and there's still those complications happening in there if this is just a Fed pause rally that has happened in here. Again, there's a lot of things that are different about what's happening with Bitcoin's price action when it comes to the stock market, when it comes to the Fed monetary policy. Heck, even when we look at it through the lens of looking at the reverse repo facility, that as the money leaves the reverse repo, Bitcoin has rallied with that moment. Reverse repo drains, Bitcoin's price rises, or the opposite. Reverse repo opens up. That's the top of Bitcoin. As reverse repo rises, Bitcoin goes down. As reverse repo reverses, the Bitcoin price reverses. There's a lot of those complications, right? So just looking at it through the exact same lens of what the market conditions were like for Bitcoin in the past, it's different, right? We usually have zero bound Fed funds rates as we go flying off into the sunset. As Bitcoin got back to its all-time high, we're sitting down here at a 0.25% Fed funds rate. It hasn't been a condition before where we have an extreme tight monetary condition that led us off into a bull run before. So again, all those things are there. And like we said, we're back at retracements. These are all still the same issues. But like if we look at it through the lens of what was happening in 2020 as prices got back up, one of the things we had done last year in October, November, and December is we actually had spent some time kind of looking at it through this type of lens of comparing these two moments in time right in here. And you may remember it if I set it up in that same manner. If you recall, we talked a lot about that time where Bitcoin rallies back up to the all-time high here back in 2020. And here we are in 2023 and 2024. Same style thing, right? We ended up having that extreme liquidation that happened back there in August of last year. It was very similar to the extreme liquidation that we had with Bitcoin back in September of 2020. The market believed that Bitcoin was going to go back down to $3,000 again, that we were going to be revisiting these lows one more time in here for Bitcoin. And that story was the same here too. We still had people screaming that we were going to be going to 12K here. We deemed the spicy BCB in markets in the morning, saying that was not going to happen. But we had set up the price behavior to show that it was very similar to what we had experienced back there in 2020. Well, even if you did look at it through that lens, you would say, well, where would you be at right now? Well, obviously, we would be beyond this moment in here, right? Getting this big break happening in here. We would be past that, right? So where would we be? Likely in something more like this, right? Now that we are here in this consolidation that's been taking place, that we've gotten well beyond that, and that here would be much more like being in something like that. Well, zoom out, and it's really actually what I was just saying earlier in this video, is that our price action that we're experiencing right now mimics being at a higher level than actually us just being sitting back here at the previous all-time high, even from just a structure perspective of how this thing has rallied up in here from things that we talked about a lot at the end of last year. It's that we're well beyond it and that we're already like getting really high, right? Even if you were going to use 2020 as your model and believe that we're just repeating 2020, which again, I just showed a lot of problems with that. But if you did believe that, your modeling in here for this particular moment in time actually places you a little bit higher. And we actually see that too when we look at the altcoin market and the location of which it is at. And that where the altcoin market sits at right now, back in these retracement levels, is really where the altcoin market sat back in 2020 as it got much higher into these retracement levels right in here. And we can really see that a lot more clearly if we put Bitcoin on top. That as it got back up into this 618 and 702 area, Bitcoin's price was already all the way up here. Whereas when Bitcoin was battling back against its all-time high over here, we were still sitting down here way below the 0.382 Fibonacci retracement level, which that would have been this moment right here where the altcoin market still is below the 382 Fibonacci retracement level. What's interesting about that moment right there? Well, that's exactly what we were just talking about in here. That would be this moment, which zoomed in on it would be very much like this moment back in here where Bitcoin was battling against the all-time high. So even from an altcoin market perspective of getting back to these retracement levels, it's as if Bitcoin has already blasted through the previous all-time high like we did back in 2020. We're all the way up in here. We're all the way back into the retracement levels for the altcoin market. And we're much further along than people would likely expect. And just structurally of how the price action has played out in here, if you go with the 2020 modeling, this price action suggests the same thing right in here. We can actually see that as well if we look over here at Ethereum, in which Ethereum has been battling right around all of its major retracement levels, 786, 702, 618, just waffling around in here, trying to find its footing to be able to clear through the retracement levels. We can go back to 2020 and see that back here, Ethereum was doing something very similar back here where it gets through the last retracement level, just like we did kind of right there. It gets through that last retracement level, and then it really has to battle all around here, back through the 786, 702, 618, and play around all throughout here. Where was Bitcoin at that time? As we can see, Bitcoin was already way up here. Right? I'll thin this out a little bit to make it a little bit more clear. But by the time you got here, where was Ethereum and Bitcoin? Ethereum at all the retracement levels, Bitcoin way above the all-time high. And you can see right here, this is that battle in 2020 with Bitcoin back at its all-time high. Ethereum still sits way down here at the 382 Fibonacci retracement level, which, as you can see, as Bitcoin was here, that's where Ethereum was back at the 382. So even Ethereum in itself has already gotten back to these retracement levels, just as if Bitcoin has already cleared through all those levels, just like in here. And that this current battle going on right here for Bitcoin, just like we had back in 2020, guess what? It's the same battle that was going on here for Ethereum as we have happening right now. And whether you believe it or not, right, when it comes to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it gets through its all-time high here back in December of last year. Give it 60 days later, that's when Bitcoin does break through that level. Go back to 2020, the Dow Jones breaks through its all-time high. Give it 32 days, then Bitcoin goes breaking through its all-time high, right? So it's as if we've moved up that level. It's as if we've moved up that level as the Dow goes into the new high, as the Dow goes into the new all-time high. And I know looking at it through these lenses is very different than what the general public looks at it through, right? The crowd looks at it through the lens of the block reward halving, 4-year cycles. You may have noticed that I've been gone for a week from YouTube. I've been in Australia. I delivered a keynote speech I went through, and in front of hundreds of people, decimated the 4-year cycle and the block reward halving theory. I'm passionate enough to do that in person on stage. It is not just me on a computer being a jerk. I went through all the data to show the idea of block reward halvings, 4-year cycles. It's all about liquidity flows, stock market, and what's happening in broader markets in general. Don't just do that on YouTube. I've officially done that on stage now. But the general public tends to be quite a bit behind the curve on what's actually happening with Bitcoin, whether that's at peaks, whether that's at bottoms, right? Even though the bottom came in November of 2022, they were still screaming for 12K here in September and October of 2023. We spent that whole time arguing, saying that's just not possible. If you want any bullish structure to remain for Bitcoin, that is just not possible. And so now we're left in this moment of, hey, we're in this tight Fed monetary policy. We've seen that before. Bitcoin really stalled out once the Fed started to cut, or we see Bitcoin back at its all-time high. The general public is using now 4-year cycles, block reward halving. When the block reward halving comes, they've already got their excuses lined up. Either Bitcoin's going to move due to ultra beautiful sound money with perfect inflationary technology, or if it crashes, hey, it's just a post-halving crash, right? The narratives are already all lined up. I've been through this stuff, but I really wanted to show you here with where the altcoin market is back at these retracement levels. This is a problem area. This is where people will take profit. We have seen this before. And if you're going to model back on 2020 and say, hey, Bitcoin is repeating cycles, would you actually be in a situation with the altcoin market where it's telling you Bitcoin's at its all-time high? Or is the altcoin market actually telling you it's much further along? Because right now, 4-year cycle theory is telling you you're going to keep this bull run going until October of 2025. But 2020 modeling tells you you would actually only have a couple more months left in here, and then it's over. So we'll keep tracking this as things go on right now. But the current location at which we're at right now for the altcoin market is a place where can we see expansion actually happen in the altcoin market and it be more than a retracement? We're still on the edge of our seats for that answer to come to us. But I also wanted to show you if you're going to be using past Bitcoin models as your examples, and if you were going to be using 2020 as your example, the 2020 model actually already puts you way up here rather than way down here. And we won't go too deep into on-chain because everybody's an on-chain expert, just like everybody's an Elliott wave expert, and everybody's going to argue it. For me, with on-chain, there's not a whole lot that you can look at in real time and be able to extrapolate too much information from it. But like for wallets with greater than 10 Bitcoin, this was a very interesting cohort of wallets that gave some pretty interesting signals back in 2020. And that's when they actually started distributing in here. And notice as we got back into these areas, this is where they started distributing and they started selling off their Bitcoins all through that moment. We're talking about Bitcoin being at a location like right in here right now, but that they started distributing from this location right in here. Well, we head over here to 2023 and 2024. Look at that. They've been distributing all the way, right? Notice in here, they weren't distributing up to the all-time high, which is where everybody suspects that we are. But instead, they've been distributing and selling into all of this already, which is just like they were doing back here in 2020 and 2021. So a little bit of extra fundamental stuff for you there. So I thought that was an interesting viewpoint, looking at it through the lens of the stock market when it broke out, when Bitcoin's move ended up happening, where the altcoin market is at, where Ethereum is at right now, and where the altcoin market is at in relation to Bitcoin's price action right now. And that if you are going to see something similar to 2021, which a lot of people are modeling it as, it would be more likely that you're really in something like that right in there. And to keep an eye on it, that if you are, we may still have some more correcting to do over here in Bitcoin and the altcoin market as it's still trying to get some strength to be able to get a breakout happening in there. So it's a complicated spot being back at these retracement levels and trying to come up with ideas and viewpoints and looking at it through a different lens than what most are. But if we look back to past cycles or we look back to 2020, where were we at here, right? If you are a believer at Bitcoin is going to rally significantly higher, well, we can look to the altcoin market and see where Bitcoin was at that time. And this is kind of giving us that lens or that viewpoint if you want to use that for your reference points. So food for thought against the mainstream narrative. And again, anytime I'm trying to present anything that is against the mainstream narrative, I'm trying to present it from like a data point. And so I'm trying to show you where we actually were, and that if we were just back at the all-time high, this was just starting some big cycle to start rampaging up later, you would actually think the altcoin market would be sitting much lower than where it is at right now. Instead of being all the way back at the retracement levels, you would think Ethereum would still be sitting lower right now instead of being all the way back at the retracement levels. But instead, it's acting a whole lot more like we're much further along in Bitcoin right now, and that we could be heading into distribution periods and all that stuff pretty soon. Whereas the mainstream narrative would be, this is just the start of the bull run. This is going to keep going on for years and years until, at least maybe not years and years, but until October of 2025, right? But that's also what people thought back in 2021 as well, when Laser Eyes and Diamond Hands and all that stuff was happening and Bitcoin got through that all-time high. People really did suspect that we were going to be going on for a much longer time period than we did. And well, I came at it through this lens back in 2021 as well, that I didn't think we were. The good news is, if we do something like this, if there is still a few months left in this, well, guess what? The altcoin market is lined up precisely as it should be for something like that. And that's really how long altcoin runs last for. They do not last for years. You can go back and look through the previous times that the altcoin market rallied aggressively. It is not something that lasts for years. It is really something that lasts for 30 to 90 days. And well, this would give you that, right? So fingers crossed that is what we end up getting. But right now, we have the big battle, and it hasn't resolved itself yet. We're back at the retracement levels. This is a profit-taking zone. This is locking money into people's pockets of those who rallied this thing all the way back up. Now it's the big fight for the altcoin market to expand. And well, I gave you an example of how it happened in 2020, and fingers crossed we get something similar to that now. So for many of you that have followed the channel for a very long time, as we all know, these retracement levels are the big fingernail biting zone. This is where big decisions happen throughout the market. Now we all just wait for it to resolve itself and tell us the story. So we'll be here every day doing markets in the morning, videos when they seem appropriate. And otherwise, we'll just keep taking it one day at a time. So here we go. Cross your fingers. We're at the retraces. But all right, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to learn how to set up your own charts and your own indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro, you could check out bcbacker.com over here. I've got over 40 videos and over 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up these charts and look at the common and effective tools along with patterns and ranges. I also teach you about Wyckoff accumulation and distribution along with Elliott wave theory, and teach you a lot about the historical behavior of the cryptocurrency market with the altcoin seasons, Bitcoin, lessons learned and differences between 2017 and 2021, and also a lot of extra stuff that I've learned from market experience when it comes to research, why percentages matter so much, learning about tokenomics and the market cap versus the price, and of course, focusing over there on crowd behavior, meme coin mania, and well, the hardest part, emotional management. It also includes downloadable PDFs in here for various sections, and there's also a master file down here with all of them together. You can check this out on bcbacker.com. 39 bucks one time, no subscriptions. Right over here. I do also write a newsletter over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. It's on various topics and things that are going on in the market at the time. I do also do research in here and look at the data of where performance is happening at in the market with some of these. We've focused on user activity levels. We've focused on developer activity levels to compare why the market has changed throughout the years and where the better performers have been. We've combined all of those together to try to craft portfolios based on that data that was more successful in 2021 versus 2017. All of these newsletters do include audio recordings in here. I do the voiceover for them. And the most recent one really focused on where the action in the cryptocurrency market has been over the last several months. Again, this is available over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. There are links in the descriptions of each of my videos to bcbacker.com and to blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, guys, I've missed you. It's been weird to be away for a week and be on the other side of the world. It was a ridiculous amount of traveling, 36 hours there, 36 hours back, and I only spent 3 full days in Australia. So it was a massive trip, but well worth it. It was an honor to get to meet so many of you in person, and I look forward to the next time to be able to do so. Otherwise, guys, I'll catch you all in the next one. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.